address you this afternoon. I have with me, let me just draw your attention to the fact that we have with us a tabloid, for lack of a better expression, that will enable you to understand somewhat about the American Heritage Party and the principles, we call them 7 ancient principles upon which we are building this party, and the principles to which each candidate must subscribe. And I don't have time to go into those, so I'm asking you, if you will, please, to take one of those. They'll be distributed later after we're done here. And the other part of the tabloid is an introduction to me. I've written a letter on the back and why I'm running and some of my perspective, but it does take quite a while to explain to you why we would leave either of the other two parties. And we wish we had the time to do that because it's substantial, and it certainly is our responsibility to make that known to you. The other thing is to where we're starting with our perspective and where we're concluding and how we're weighing the basic and various issues, which are many. But I'm reminded of an occasion at the Constitutional Convention in 1787 in Philadelphia when the famous 81-year-old tinker from Philadelphia, Benjamin Franklin, rose to his feet during a time of great tension, debate, discussion, and there wasn't much progress being made. And he addressed himself to George Washington when he said, "I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of man. And if he takes notice when a sparrow falls, does he not also provide aid when an empire rises?" Then he went on to say that, quoting from Psalm 127, verse 1, King David, Benjamin Franklin, who was not noted for his religious enthusiasm, he said, "Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it." Now, my study of history confirms that the Founding Fathers understood that civil government was the Lord's building. It was not the primary building. The primary building or the primary source of government or place of government was self-government. And then family government. That was the primary. And then, of course, church government, and finally civil government. I'm standing here today because I cannot accept the posture that the Republican Party or the Democratic Party have assumed. Neither one of them represent that view to me personally. And as a citizen, I have a right and a responsibility with my family to stand on my feet and say I cannot vote for that which misrepresents not only my values, but the values that founded America, the great principles upon which government was founded. I believe both parties have departed from that foundation. And I say with Benjamin Franklin, with King David, except the Lord build the house. The longer I have lived, I see that the Lord is building a house. And that God does govern in the affairs of men. And as it is presently, the real issue that is before us is neither Republican nor Democrat nor conservative or liberal, but it's whose law will govern America. Under what authority will we live our lives? As I see it, it is either tyranny or totalitarianism, or it's the God of the Bible, or it's anarchy. And I think we're headed in every different direction. We've got more and more requests for more and more government. If you saw this morning's paper, and a $1.75 trillion commitment signed enthusiastically by Newt Gingrich and the Republican Party. And just as enthusiastically by Tom Daschle, the quotes I read were from Tom Daschle. "We won, we won, we won," he says. What is this? Is this a two-party system, or is it really one party, one just going a little faster toward the cliff than the other one? I see that the time has come for another party, just like in 1854 when the Republicans rose up in the midst of the confusion of their day and the cowardice and the capitulation. They refused to take a position on slavery, and we refused to take a position on the central issue of life, liberty, and property, starting with conscience. In 1854, the Republicans rose up and they took from 4 other parties and they replaced the conservatives of their day, which were the Whigs, And in 6 years, in 1860, they had the presidency with Abraham Lincoln. The Republican Party has drifted a long way from that day and its courage. So I can no longer walk in a house that's divided against itself. I can no longer walk with those who have two minds. Well, on one hand, they're this, and on the other hand, they're that, and it's, if I'm to believe the paper this morning, and I say if, I'll read other sources. But if I'm to believe the information I've received this morning, that particular party, the Republican Party, has just rubber-stamped Bill Clinton's vision and the direction he's taking this country. I don't agree with that. I don't believe that's proper. I don't believe it's a constitutional republic. It does not reflect those three founding principles of the Declaration of Independence: life, liberty, and property. It's a violation of all three. Plus the self-evident truth that God is a creator. It's become the state is our God. The state is our shepherd. The state will lead us beside in green pastures and beside still waters. They promise us all these reductions. You read the article. It'll tell you there's no tax reduction. You'll hear about it today, no doubt. But let's see it. Promise after promise after promise after promise. 4 years after the great conservative Republican Revolution, and I've got to ask people wherever I am, and Davenport asked me that, are you better off? 1.5 hands went about half mast. Are you better off in the 4 years? We have a bigger budget. We have more obligations. We have more promises. Let me just break it down to where it touches my life. My second daughter just informed me that she's pregnant with her second child. It's very simple to figure. The day that child is born, it will automatically assume $20,481 of the national debt. The day that baby takes its first breath of this so-called free and purified air in America, it's obligated to a debt that you and those before you and myself have saddled that child with. That is taxation without representation. I thought we abolished slavery in this country. But the moment that baby is born, it is introduced into a Social Security system that's going to enslave that child. So please, take heed to the information we've provided you with, and have the courage to vote your conscience, to vote your virtue, to break from one train and join one on a different track altogether. We'd love to have you with us. Thank you very much.